Hello, and welcome back to the Tax Advisor and Biz Coach Success Podcast. The purpose of these episodes is to help entrepreneurs become more successful, avoid tax and other business headaches. Remember to tune in frequently, as we will be sharing tips, secrets, and expert recommendations in how you can manage your finances, improve wealth, and grow your business. Please like, share, and subscribe. Here's your host, Liz Soria.
And today I have a special guest joining me to talk about his expertise and how he may help you. So welcome, Thor Coughlin. And I'm going to go ahead and share with the rest of the audience who you are briefly. And then that way they get familiar. Now, Thor Coughlin is an entrepreneur profitability consultant. He's a host of the Peak Performance podcast. In 2017 marks his 18th year as an entrepreneur. That's a long, long time. Through his consulting firm, Peak Performance Group, he trains business leaders around the world to be peak performance. He says that 96 of business fail within the first 10 years. And the only reason they fail is lack of profits. And that is so true. Of the 4% that do survive, many only produce enough profits to break even, pay an owner a minimum wage, or provide shareholder below market returns. Mr. Coughlin, extensive background, expertise allows him not only to identify the specific profitability killers, the siphon of profits, but work with the business to fix them. He is known as the accountability and executive guy. I like that, Thor. So how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
It's my pleasure, sure is. And if it's okay with you, would I like to get started? And these are more questions that I believe that the audience would be interested probably if they had you face-to-face and asking you this kind of question. Is that okay if I get started?
Absolutely.
Hey, sounds great. All right. So how and when did you get started in your business?
Well, I had a very interesting start. It was 18 years ago, and I was working in Atlanta, and I was due back in New York, and I didn't really want to go back to my office in New York. It actually happened to be in the World Trade Center, so thank God I did not go back.
Oh, boy.
And I was taking, yeah, I know. I unfortunately lost a third of my team that day. Thank you. And I was going to take another job in Charlotte for another competing firm. And I got a phone call from a private equity firm that I did a lot of work with over the years. And they said, "Hey, Thor, would you mind coming to New York before you take this new position? We'd like to talk to you about a couple things." And it's not every day you get a phone call from a top 5 private equity firm asking you to come in and speak. So I said, fine, I'll head up to New York. And I did. And they said, our consultant that handles all of our portfolio companies worldwide is retiring, and we'd like you to take over.
Great opportunity.
It's a great opportunity.
Sure.
These don't come along every day.
No, they don't.
And they said, you can either set up your own company or come work for us. Now, I knew in the past that this particular firm had carried interest in their portfolio deals in their 401k program. So essentially what this means is, as they're going out and buying companies, a portion of those profits are going back into the 401ks. And they had secretaries retiring with $10 and $20 million in their 401ks.
Amazing.
Yes, I know. Right. So I said, are you still offering that in your 401ks? And they said, no, we don't do that just for everybody anymore. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to take option number B. I'm going to set up my own company. They said, that's great. You've got 20 minutes. Go in the other room, come up with a name, come up with a business plan, and let us know what you want to do. So my first company was created in 20 minutes in a conference room, everything start to finish. I presented that to them, and I was off to the races. And day one, they purchased 90% of my time.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, I didn't really have much to do with it. I just happened to be at the right place at the right time. So that's how it started 18 years ago. So I had the opportunity to travel around the world and work with some of the most amazing entrepreneurs and business leaders in all kinds of different industries.
Wow, that's a wonderful story. Absolutely. Well, here's my next question, because I guess one of the things that a lot of audience get is how to be successful in the niche. So why were you successful in the niche, and where many others have failed? What does it make you believe and have call it a gut feeling that you knew you were in the right niche? How did that happen?
Well, the first company that I created, which was Private Equity Risk Consultants, I had been working in private equity and doing that business for 15 years, kind of behind the scenes. So the reason I was selected in the first place is because I was doing all those things that were necessary to hone my skill, hone my trade, and really become known as an expert in that area. So if you want to be known as the expert in that niche, you've got to spend the time and really just grind it out day after day, month after month, year after year.
I agree.
Really, yeah, you've got to prove it. You just don't walk one day you wake up and say, hey, I'm a so-and-so expert.
No, but we know sometimes now in these days online, you do get
That's right.
You get those kind of pros, and amateurs, and I don't mean to, offend anyone out there by all means, but yeah, definitely I'm seeing that a lot, not only through a lot of podcasts, but even videos that, they presume that they're experts in the field, but yet maybe they just graduated, or perhaps they have just 2-3 years of experience. And I think that we all have to pay somehow, some way our dues, right? I mean, how do you feel about that?
100%. I'm 54. I've got gray hair. I've seen a lot. That doesn't mean I know everything. As a matter of fact, when it comes to new social media and technology, I'll be the first one to say I'm not your guy, because there's other people that are right out of college, right, that have been doing this, year after year and can code in their sleep. That's not me. That's not my expertise. Sure. And I won't claim to be that. The other thing is that you need to play to your strengths. Now, I am very good at forming relationships, finding out what people need and want, and then crafting solutions in order to meet those needs and desires. And I can sit in a room with anybody from a board of directors to the guys that sweep the halls at night.
Amazing.
It doesn't matter. I can do that. But I'll use the technology thing again. Don't ask me to code. I'm not the right guy. So play to your strengths. And every organization needs different players. If you're a tech company, someone's got to do the coding, but someone has to sell. Someone needs to take care of the finances. Know your strengths. Play to them.
That's a great tip. It really is. And I feel from my perspective the same way, by the way, Thor. I mean, I'm good in what I do, and I still got a long way to learn a lot more. And I believe that, when we team up and we hire professionals, not only they're going to make us look better, but you know what? It's just everything is going to run smoothly. And we cannot wear all the hats all the time. And I think that's one thing that's kind of difficult for, especially, new business owners, right? They're coming on and, trying, maybe they're experts in their field also, but they're trying to do all these different things. So stick to what you're good. And I always say that. So here goes my next question. Why do you think that, why do you think it can be replicated easily about your business? What makes your business maybe perhaps a little more unique and cannot be that replicated that easily?
Yeah, this is my 6th venture. The other ones, 2 of them are still operating, 10 million plus companies. And each of those companies could have been replicated. The current model that I have with Peak Performance Group is it can't be replicated, and there's only one reason why it can't. Now, so can somebody else go into profitability consultant? Of course.
Right.
But here's my point on this. My firm can't be recreated or replicated because of only one reason, and that's me.
Mm-hmm.
There is no other Thor Conklin. There's no one else in the industry that has the same experiences that I have. Now, I'm not saying that I'm the best of the best of the best. I'm just saying what makes our firm unique are the people in the firm and the intellectual experiences that they have. So can you go out and create a profitability consulting firm? Yes, anybody can do. Well, not everyone can do that, but it can be replicated. It's about the people in the firm. They are your real asset, and that's why it can't be reproduced.
Amazing. So you definitely take care of your team.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's so important too. Even when, by all means, anyone who's listened to this podcast, one of the things I always tell my audience is that it's not about hiring full-time employees, right, Thor? Because now in these days, I mean, you're able to build a good team, and you need that there to support you and support especially your customers.
Yeah, and do you. I mean, I have a unique style that's all my own. I am not the type of person that is going to baby my clients. I just don't do it. We sign an agreement up front, and it basically says you're going to end up hating me. Some, at some point in the process, you're going to hate me. And the reason is I'm going to call it as I see it. I will not tell you what you want to know. I will tell you how I see it. And if you're not getting your stuff together, I'm going to get on the phone and I'm going to tell you in no uncertain terms with very, very adult language, get your stuff together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's just who I am. So that doesn't resonate with everyone. So somebody that wants more of a heartfelt connection and feels a lot of things, we're just not going to be a good fit. I can go there, but that's not my core. My core is to take warriors and drive them, the people that want to go, but they're just stuck somehow. And they need somebody with a strong presence to get them to that next level.
And that is so important. I mean, I'm a firm believer myself. I mean, I do have a business coach, and I can tell you that, there's times where, I need to pick up the phone and I need to talk to him, It's just something that I need that reinforcement. And it's just that support. So a lot of times we look out, for maybe, our spouses or family members or friends. I can share something that I would definitely say that for me, what has worked is sharing, with business coach. And that's because I find it a little more private and more personal. And he has the knowledge. And I think that's so important that you give that kind of support, and you can kind of like give the roadmap to how, people need to go by their plans. So, Thor, what are some of your challenges that you faced earlier on, and how did you beat them, especially that? I think your secret, your ingredient. Come on, share it with us.
Oh, well, I will share a success map with the listeners here in a second. But going back to your question is, what did I have to learn in the beginning? First of all, I was young. I was in my own way so often.
Were you ever young, really, Thor?
Yeah, I was. I was young. I was skinny. I'm actually getting in better shape as I'm getting older, so that's good. But yes, it's I think back to the early days. One, I didn't have the knowledge that I really needed to have. Cash in many of the startups was sparse. You had no clients. Sometimes I had partners in a couple of the ventures. That raised a whole different set of challenges. Systems. I love systems. I just don't want to be the guy that creates them, right? I'm more of a big picture. Let's get this thing done. There's the wall. Let's break it down. Let's climb over around it. So all of those things that are, that are common to all startups, but it was really me. The more I started spending on me and started understanding how I ticked, and I had people around me that really called it as it was, people that would just call me out on my BS. I had a client the other day. Actually, I'm sorry, this was a prospect, not a client, called me and said, hey, I can't get these clients to respond to me. I keep sending, not clients, prospects. I'll get the story straight. Prospect called me.
Right.
He's trying to get his prospects to respond to his emails, and he can't do it. He's like, well, what do I do? I was joking around. I was like, send more emails, right? Just keep doing what you're doing. The definition of insanity.
Yes.
No, I was like, get out there.
Yeah,
get out there. Right. Persistence is good, but if persistence in the wrong direction for a sustained period of time is insanity. You might have to adjust. So make sure you keep tracking and measuring. But he was unwilling to just get in the car because he was a caterer. So he wanted to get catering jobs around the city. I was like, go see the catering halls. Get out of your car, get out of your office and go see people, shake hands. So he writes back and he said, oh, that's a great idea, but right now it's baseball season. So after that's over, I was like, are you kidding me? Are you really kidding me? It's like, okay, so you have a solution now, but it's baseball. I don't even know what baseball season means. Watching it or playing it or coaching. I have no idea. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? You don't get it. As entrepreneurs, you've got to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, that's so true.
So I had that piece. I was just, I was getting in my way. I should have spent more time, getting more sleep, getting up earlier and hitting it harder. But I've arrived where I've arrived and very pleased with the process.
If from my perspective, I feel the same way. I think, like you said, I mean, I see it from, paying the dues. That's how I call it. I mean, there's a process in life where if you stick, to a specific career, you're going to keep learning and learning, because I believe being abreast of a career is extremely important. But the fact is that you have to spend these kind of years, getting that experience, because it's really trial and error. I mean, that's the way I look at it. That's where you get your experience, and that's why people are willing to pay top dollars for that. So definitely, it's great that you have shared those challenges, with us. And if you could go back for a moment, Thor, what would you change about how you did things?
As I look back, there's probably two cases where I wish I had done something different. Now, with that being said, I believe that everything's led up to this point. Life happens for me, not to me. So I'm blessed where I've arrived, and if things were different, I wouldn't be in the same place. So with that said, but if I look back, there was two things in business that I wish I had done differently. Because if you think, let's take $100. If you lose 50% of it, you lose $50, you're down to $50. To get back to even, you've got to double your money. Losses are so important to protect against. And people generally don't end up in the financial position that they want to, not because they didn't do enough of the right things, but they made some mistakes along the way. So, two things that I did. One is I purchased a business that I knew nothing about, in an industry that I had no knowledge, with a customer base that didn't speak my primary language, English.
Oh my.
So I know. Yeah.
That's a challenge right there.
Yeah,
Okay.
Needless to say, I think a little bit of ego got in the way of this decision-making process.
Hey, at least you can admit it. That's a good thing.
Yeah. And it had very attractive margins that happened to be false. The old donor falsified tax returns and records and all. It was a disaster. So I saw some red flags when I was doing the due diligence, this particular company I had purchased. And, it's so funny, right? Because we always want to be optimistic. At least I am, right? I'm looking to see what's wrong, but I'm like, oh, you know what? That little red flag, I can take care of that. That's no big deal.
That's right.
I'm an entrepreneur. I've got 15 years of experience. I'll take care of that. And then this other red flag. And of course, they're in the distant, right? Because right now you're excited. It's kind of like dating for the first time. It's the first date. It's like, oh my God, she's beautiful. He's handsome. I love this guy. There's nothing wrong with this person. And then you start dating him and it's like, I'm not quite sure. And then, then you're living together. It's like, oh, I didn't see that. But you did see it, right? You just decided to overlook it. So I overlooked some things. I rushed into it, and that was not a good decision. If you see some red flags, take some time, analyze them, and get some people around you that don't have a vested interest or are not emotional about it, right? It's kind of like the girlfriend. What do you think about this new guy? Find somebody else that can come in to look at it. So that's one. And the other one was I was forced out of a company that I started prematurely. And instead of fighting it, I kind of let it go. And I wish I'd stayed in and just fought it, because it was a pretty nasty situation. I was getting ousted for no particular reason. So,
what a shame.
Yeah. Hey, when you're not making a lot of money, everything's cool. When you're starting to make a lot of money, people's true colors come out.
Yeah, I have to agree that with you too. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, money does not have a name, and I believe that picking partners in a business is very crucial, and I think it can be very difficult too, especially if you have not done business prior with that person. It kind of, like you said, it's like a date. It's a blind kind of situation where you stepping in and walking into a situation that someone that you really don't know that well.
Yeah.
So I always believe in, building solid, relationships. And it doesn't matter whether, like you stated a little earlier, it could be, your lover, it could be, business relationship, it could be a friend. It takes time to build that relationship and that trust, right?
It does. Absolutely.
Yeah. So absolutely. I mean, so, one last question, if you don't mind, Thor.
Yeah, please.
Is there anything else about you that you would like to add? And now this is kind of a little more in the personal, and I know I got you off guard on that one, but I like doing that. So, so things that you like to do, that you like to add to this podcast.
No, I'm sorry, you cut out a little bit. Could you ask that
I'm
question
sorry.
again?
Did you?
That's all
Yeah,
right.
it was. Is there anything else about you that you would like to add? And this is, your traveling, your hobbies, things that you enjoy as a person besides being in the business.
Yeah, I think one of the things that really drives me the most is a mentor of mine told me years ago. He said, hell on earth would be to meet the man or woman you could have become.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like
Very
one of those
good.
things that just kind of gets you right in the center of your eyeballs. So every day I wake up and I try to figure out how to become a little bit better version of myself. So that might be in business, that might be in a relationship, that might be in just the way I spend my time and my hobbies and what I love to do. I love to play motocross. I guess you don't play motocross, you do motocross.
Okay.
So I really enjoy doing that. I love sailing, I love playing golf. But what I really enjoy doing most is connecting with people. And whether it's at a restaurant and connecting with the busboy or, somebody, the waitress, or just another table next door. I'm known if we go out somewhere, if we were ever in the same city and we went out somewhere.
I'm sorry, Thor, you're kind of fading your voice a little bit. Can you get closer to your microphone,
Yes.
please?
Is that better?
Okay. Slightly. I see.
All right. Is that better?
A little bit better, yes. Go.
Okay, good. Sorry about that.
No problem. Technology, here we go. Yeah. We can trust technology, but sometimes certain things are going to happen. So,
absolutely. So, yes, my favorite is connecting and making relationships and having interactions with others. So, if we were at a restaurant and we were out somewhere, I would lean over to the table next to us if there was a couple there, and I would start a conversation, and then I would ask some key questions about what they really like about each other. I love leaving people and situations better than I found them, whether it's a client, a prospect, or just a random person walking down the street. And
that's
that lights
awesome.
me up.
That's really awesome. It's. I think that you have very strong social skills. That's what it really is. You like building those kind of relationships, like I do. And again, it takes time. I mean, things just don't happen overnight. And I think it's so interesting that everybody has something that we can learn from. There's
absolutely
something to learn, and people don't realize. It doesn't matter what career you choose. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. We can learn so much from each other, and I think that's so extremely important. And Thor, we're almost at the end of our podcast. I'm doing these special guests, and they're usually less than 30 minutes, if that's okay. But I do want for you to please let the audience know how they can find you and how, they're able to connect with you. That way they can hopefully get some help from you.
Terrific. Thank you. You can find me on the internet at Thor Conklin. That's the website. Social media, everything is Thor Conklin. So I'm real easy to find. And for your listeners today, if anybody is struggling with something in their business, if you send me a 50-word or less email to thor@thorconklin.com, I will respond back with a 4-step process to either eliminate that problem completely or at the very least, move it forward significantly.
That's very generous from you. It really is. Thank you so much for spending this time, and we wish you the very best. We really do, Thor, and I hope to see you maybe in another episode that we can continue sharing a little bit more of, our tips and our ins and outs, because that's what we're here. We're here to help everyone out there, and I really appreciate your time, and I wish you the very, very best. And this is, again, Liz Soria. Thank you so much, Thor.
Thank you very much.
You have a great day, sir. Thank you so much.
You too.
Bye-bye.